is up, Starseeds? It's Sid, and today I'm going to be talking about Vedic astrology, also known as Jyotish. This is a very accurate form of astrology. It's been around for well over 6,000 years. It is a lot like Western astrology. I have like an hour-long video on that goes very in-depth, especially the first half hour, on elements and modalities and the planets. So you guys should really check that out. And the rest of the video is just about all of the 12 zodiac signs, which are the same zodiac signs used in Vedic astrology. They're just interpreted in the Western way in English, so that's really the only difference. Vedic astrology uses the sidereal zodiac, unlike Western astrology, which is looking at the tropical zodiac. The tropical zodiac is more about your position on Earth, and Vedic astrology looks more at the constellations in relativity to our sun. So I like to use Vedic astrology for looking at more past life stuff. It's also, it's obviously accurate for this life, but I'm saying it helps you determine what you came from in the past, I think, a bit better than Western astrology. That's just my opinion. Every form of astrology is accurate for their own things. So today we will be getting into all of this. If you do not know your Vedic astrology zodiac signs, right now pause this video, go look in the description, go to astromitra.com. Okay, it's the first link in my sources, so click on that, get your Vedic astrology, and then come back to this video so we can interpret it. Alright, so I'm going to be going over some things that I did not go over in my Western astrology video, like first the position of some asteroids and how they affect you, then how to understand karmanic configurations in your birth chart and what they mean. So there's timestamps in the description if you guys want to fast forward to certain parts of this video, but I recommend watching the whole thing or else you might get just a little confused or miss some awesome pieces of information. So here we go. This is more in-depth astrology. This video and my Western astrology video are the most in-depth that it gets, and these are the most scientific forms of astrology, so that is why. So the first few things I'm going to be talking about are only if you know the time of your birth. So if you do not, then feel free to fast forward to the Lilith part of this video. You can look in the timestamps in the description. So here we go. Your ascendant. That is the sign rising over the eastern horizon at the time of your birth. This is your first house. It is on the cusp of the 12th house. So this is relative to your position on Earth. I like to call your houses your Earth signs, kind of. In Western astrology, my rising sign is Virgo, and in Vedic astrology, my rising sign is Leo. They are like one sign off. So if you know your ascendant sign, you know where all of your houses are. Like in Western astrology, mine is Virgo. So you know my second house is going to be in Libra, you know my third house is going to be in Scorpio, you know my fourth house is in Sag, and my fifth house is in Capricorn. It just goes in order, like after your rising sign. So just like in Vedic astrology, if my rising sign is in Leo, then you know my second house is in Virgo, and then my third house is in Libra. So it's just one off for all of them. Your rising sign is how you come off to people when you first meet them. It is people's first impression of you and how you handle new situations. So your descendant or your vertex is your 7th house, kind of on the cusp of your 6th house. And this is a karmic fate connection. So this sign is brought out in you when you meet someone, when someone dies, when you have just a major turning point in your life, or when your thoughts kind of shift. This sign is brought out in you, and it just kind of represents how you handle things now, how you are as a partner now, and how you account for everything in your home life and just all your amenities. My vertex in Western astrology is Aquarius, and my vertex or descendant in Vedic astrology is Capricorn. My midheaven is in Gemini for Western astrology and Taurus for Vedic astrology. Your midheaven is your 10th house, kind of on the cusp of your 9th house. But your 10th house just represents how strict you are, kind of. It's how you govern and how you are going to achieve success. If your midheaven is involved in a karmic configuration, then it represents a huge goal from a past life that was not met. So your part of fortune is the other thing that you will need your birth time for if you want to calculate. If you don't have a calculator, then you can find this one pretty easily just by yourself. If you were born during the daytime, you take your ascendant plus your moon sign minus your sun sign. And if you're born at night, then you take your ascendant plus your sun sign minus your moon sign. So your part of fortune is just kind of how you will achieve fame and fortune this life, how you will succeed however you desire. My part of fortune is in Gemini for Western astrology and Taurus for Vedic astrology. In Western astrology, my Lilith is in Pisces, and in Vedic astrology, my Lilith is in Aquarius. There is lots of different kinds of Liliths in astrology, actually, but the main one that you get on like every main birth chart just represents your hidden desires. In whatever way that means to you, Lilith is just about your hidden desires. So your chiron represents where your soul was wounded in the past and needs healing now. So my Chiron is in Sagittarius for Vedic and Western astrology, which really makes sense for me, I guess. So the moon nodes are the 2 points where the moon's orbit intersects the ecliptic. The ecliptic is kind of a plane, like a line that the planets all orbit on and where the zodiac constellations lie. So the north node represents your soul's purpose and destiny in this life, and your south node represents your past lives, unresolved wounds and past soul's contracts and karma. And when you have planets that are in square aspects to the south node, or when your ascendant, your first house on the cusp of your 12th house, or your descendant, your 7th house on the cusp of your 6th house, or your midheaven, your 10th house on the cusp of your 9th house, are aligned with the south node, then it represents things that are left really unresolved from past lives. My north node is in Gemini and my south node is in Sagittarius. So an imbalance of elements occurs when you have 3 or more planets or no planets at all in a certain element. This represents an overabundance or a lack of that element in past lives. So if you look at my Western astrology, I have 5 air, 3 water, 2 fire, and 0 earth. If you look at my Vedic astrology, I have 5 earth, 3 air, 2 water, and 0 fire. So they are pretty different. I would just interpret that as I had a pretty generic share of water in my past lives, and if you look at some, I had a lot more air than most, and if you look at others, I had a lot more earth than most. So that was my interpretation of that, but that is all up to you guys to interpret your own elements. And if you have 3 or more planets in one sign, then this is called a stellium. And this happens when that sign was a big part of your past lives. So if you look at my Western astrology, you would say I have a lot of Aquarius, Scorpio, and Sag. If you look at my Vedic astrology, you would say I have a lot of Capricorn, Scorpio, and Libra. To me, this means that I was definitely a Scorpio in a past life. If you have planets, especially outer ones, that are intercepted in retrograde or in a water sign, then this means there's a karmic configuration attached to that planet and that sign. Mercury is the planet of communication, so if you have Mercury involved in a karmic configuration, then communication is very important to you. Venus is the planet of love, so if you have Venus involved in a karmic configuration, then relationships are very important to you. Mars is the planet of anger and fighting, so if you have Mars involved in a karmic configuration, then handling aggression is very important to you. Jupiter is the planet of philosophy, so if Jupiter is involved in a karmic configuration, then learning and sharing information is very important to you. Saturn is the planet of responsibility, so if Saturn is involved in a karmic configuration, then achievement is very important to you. And Saturn's position is just a major karmanic role, and it's what you didn't develop adequately in past lives. So if your Saturn is in square or opposite aspects to other planets in your chart, then this also represents a karmic configuration. Uranus is the planet of individuality, so if Uranus is involved in a karmic configuration, then aliveness and just having fun being yourself is very important to you, and Uranus's position determines how and when you are going to spiritually awaken. Neptune is the planet of intuition, and if Neptune is involved in a karmic configuration, then creativity and emotions are very important to you. Neptune's position determines how and when you will develop psychic abilities better. Pluto is the planet of transformation, so if you have Pluto involved in a karmic configuration, then fearlessness is very important to you. Pluto's position determines how and when you decided to help humanity, and if you were born during a Pluto retrograde, then you agreed to balance out your past karma during this life. For Western astrology, my sun is in Sagittarius. Vedic, my sun is in Scorpio. My moon is in Aquarius for Western astrology, but is in Capricorn for Vedic. My Mercury and Venus are in Scorpio for Western astrology, and my Mercury and Venus are in Libra for Vedic astrology. My Mars is in Aquarius for Western and Capricorn for Vedic. My Jupiter is in retrograde in Cancer for Western astrology, and my Jupiter is in retrograde in Gemini for Vedic astrology. My Saturn is in retrograde in Gemini for Western astrology, and my Saturn is in retrograde in Taurus for Vedic astrology. My Uranus and Neptune are in Aquarius for Western astrology, and my Uranus and Neptune are in Capricorn for Vedic astrology. My Pluto is in Sagittarius for Western astrology, and it is in Scorpio for Vedic astrology. So this is not for everyone's astrology. It's not always just one sign off, but for my Vedic, it is always one sign before my Western. It totally depends on the degree. Like Marie Antoinette is a Scorpio sun sign, Libra moon for Western, but she is a Libra sun, Libra moon for Vedic. It's the same thing with my ex, Scorpio sun, Libra moon for Western, but Libra for Vedic. Totally depends on the degree in each sign that you were born in. So do that calculator. Obviously you guys have probably done this if you watched this whole video. If not, definitely go do that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And check out my Western astrology video if you haven't done that already, because this Vedic vid just sort of compared it to Western astrology, again because that's just the easiest way for me to do it. I grew up in the US, so I learned Western astrology first like most people, and it was just easier for me to compare it to that. So next week I'll be back with another video. We are going to go off the topic of astrology now. I have done astrology videos the past couple months now, so I hope you guys are becoming experts figuring out all your signs. I have alien stuff on YouTube, and I'm gonna have some more tarot videos in the future, more crystal vids in the future, more alien race vids in the future, so I hope you guys stick around and enjoy that. Have a great week. Love and light, and the hybrid children are coming soon.